So there was a book that came out in around 2005 called French Women Don't Get Fat. And I wanted to talk about some of the things in this book and French traditions and weight loss. So there were some really good pieces of advice in this book. Basically, it said French women are stubborn. They don't go along with trends, and they really prize their food. French women don't eat Wonder Bread is in here. And French women train their children's taste buds. I have a good friend whose mother is of French heritage, and she mentioned that her mother, the kids had to try everything. They wouldn't eat junk. She told me the saying, if you don't respect the food does not respect you. And my friend grew up with a mother in the French tradition, and she's maintained good food habits into her 60s, and I always really admire her. I didn't grow up with this tradition, but there were things in common with my great-grandparents. Again, not eating Wonder Bread. And again, telling me to eat, trying to train my taste buds. I remember my great-grandmother feeding me chopped liver and me protesting and being angry. And now flashing back, I realized, what she was trying to do. My thoughts as a young mom were, gosh, I'm so exhausted. I do not want fighting with the kids. Just let them eat what they want to eat. I'm so tired. But really, that's the grandparents' role in the world, and the mom's role to expose the kids to different foods. And it's so hard these days with the barrage of, fast food, crap food, all over the place. And again, French women don't eat Wonder Bread. Well, what do we do in the United States? Our food's, it's Wonder Bread everywhere. I was also talking with a physician friend of mine, and I was talking to her about how I don't eat conventional bread anymore. I've gone back to this. I'm eating real bread. This is crap. The stuff that never goes stale doesn't belong in my body. If I'm going to have bread, I'm going to have bread that's real, that goes stale, okay? And she said, well, I was in medical residency with kids. I didn't know when I'd go to the store next. I wanted the bread that lasted a month. And of course, I wanted the Wonder Bread as a child. I wanted a Twinkie. Wonder Bread is basically a Twinkie. And it's so different than a real French roll that is artisan made and is just very simple ingredients. So again, these pieces of advice in the book were really very good. But then there were some things that were completely impractical and that were not mentioned. The French people were stubborn. French women were stubborn. They didn't accept the food pyramid. They kept their ancestral food ways with plenty of fat and cheese. And in this book, they really tiptoe around the thing that, high-fat eating was not pushed in the French world. And they continue to eat real food with real fat. Eggs, butter, cheese, meat with the fat on it. And there's a myth in the United States, they would call it the French paradox, or in the medical world, they said the French paradox. Well, they're eating lots of fat, but they aren't getting sick and diabetes because they drink lots of red wine. And there's a little compound in red wine that saves them. But gee, we should just keep doing what we're doing in the United States. Just keep eating low fat, no eggs, no meat, no butter. We got to eat margarine and crap food. And then this totally, when I'm looking at it, the advice at the time was completely not, I couldn't do this. I get no time for lunch. I'm supposed to take pleasure in eating when I've got no time for lunch. Well, and nowadays, if I don't have time for lunch, I've got fat stored on me for that very purpose. I'll have an electrolyte water, I'll have a black coffee, I'll have a bulletproof coffee, I'll have a herbal tea, and I'll keep on going. Or I'll have a seltzer water, I'll keep on going. I had no time to enjoy myself and savor my no, I was just driven ragged. And now my life has changed somewhat, but I don't need to be, I don't know. It was well-meaning, but it was completely impractical. And then at the end of the book, there's a whole bunch of carb-heavy recipes with whole grain pasta and everything. Well, that wasn't helping. But there's some really good concept in this book, but you also realize it is somewhat of a gaslight because it doesn't mention the biggest factor in why we got so fat in the United States is because we were nice people and we listened to these food pyramid people. The French women were stubborn and didn't listen. So I hope you consider subscribing to my channel. I hope this has been helpful to you. You're a cactus living in a rainforest. There's nothing wrong with you. It's what's wrong, what we've been through. And we've been through a massive gaslighting around food. We can turn it around. And I hope you'll enjoy me in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.